Headlines over the past few days. Recent developments include the Venda King saying that he will return gifts that he received under precarious circumstances. Now let's unpack this and of course more around this with political analyst Xolani Dube from the Xubera Institute, and he joins us from our Durban studio. Xolani, thanks and welcome to Morning Live once again.
Morning, Sakina, as well as to the listeners.
Now, Xolani,
and viewers.
Let's just start with the Venda King. And he yesterday, of course, releasing a statement saying that if it is proven that these gifts that he received from benefactors were actually ill-gotten gains, he is willing to return it, to pay back the money, if you will. What do you make of that?
That's a political cliche now of paying back of what you have received, knowing fully well that this gift that you received are ill-gotten. And surely he is a matured person who is fully aware of the gifts that are immaculate and the gifts that are tainted. And so I think it is becoming a national anthem for those that we think are supposed to protect us, to say, yes, first I'm going to eat these ill-gotten gains, and then subsequently to that, I'll go to the public and say, look, I was not aware that these are not appropriately obtained gift, and then I am willing to return them. But in most cases, we have not seen those gifts being returned.
But Xolani, he says he doesn't know. According to his statement, he didn't know that these were the proceeds of illegality. So he's saying that he will return it if indeed it is proven that it is ill-gotten gains. But evidently, this is trying to distance himself from the whole VBS scandal. Has he been effective in doing that?
Look, Sakina, I think the issue of VBS need not to be extrapolated from the items that are in this South African basket of corruption. Because if we do that, we will be blinding ourselves on the other issues that are interrelated to our social, moral, and ethic fiber of our society. I think what we have witnessed at VBS saga is a reality that it seems the issue of black solidarity is just a myth, is something that we have to understand that black men, we are on your own, because if you have noticed, post-apartheid, those that we thought will protect us are really scavenging on the hope of the condemned.
Now, yesterday we saw a story that the Citizen ran, Lesiba Tifo, a political analyst, very scathing about President Cyril Ramaphosa's role in this whole VBS scandal. And he made out that the president actually knew about what was going on there since 2017. Fast forward to this morning, the president has denied any knowledge of what was going on at VBS prior to being alerted through official channels. So what gives here? What needs to happen? Should the president now go and sue Lesiba Tifo to prove that he, in fact, did not know about what was going on?
You know, South Africa is really in what I call it is a painful sinkhole where you find our leaders now and again are caught in the most undesirable spaces of immorality, ethics, and also to an extent that they deny certain issues that they are aware of, and then when the time as an arbiter prove that they were aware, and then they seek apology from us as South Africans. I think, as I've said before, South Africa really is in a sinkhole, and we don't have those, and even our civil society movement, it seems that they've forsaken us. They are no longer vocal as we have appreciated their vocality before. It seems as if they are silent when it comes to the issues that affect the condemned, the poor, and those who stays in rural areas, because the VBS Bank targeted and it pillaged the hope of those people. And so I think what our president is saying to a certain extent is that, look, I was not aware, but is not telling us what he is going to do in order to arrest such kind of an embarrassment into our society.
So should the claim by Lesiba Tefo prove to be true, what sort of damage could that potentially do to President Cyril Ramaphosa's aspirations of course, continuing another term of presidency next year?
I think our politicians have developed a crocodile skin when it comes to denying, and they are so immune from being embarrassed and also from accepting their mistakes. And the issue of the office of the president or any public office, look, is no longer there to serve the interest of the people, but it seems as if it's there to serve their own interest. And so I don't think that there will be any consequences if he was aware or if he was not aware.
Now, we've spoken a lot about the protagonists, especially the high-profile ones, those who received monies, they've been named. But the employees who worked for VBS Mutual Bank, they have essentially been left out of all the discussions around what is going on here. And we see that they will be bearing the brunt of this because they've been offered a week's salary in their severance package.
Look, as I said, the elite, the so-called black elite, is not different from those who were the perpetrators or those who were the agents of apartheid system, because apartheid system was rooted from social, from the injustice kind of system that was meted to those who were the recipient. Then it was the black people in majority. And so I think we have simple, especially the so-called, those who are on the hierarchy of our society, they've embraced the unethical conduct of our system, the neoliberal system that really is corrupt to the core. And so I don't think that the workers, like those who invested in VBS, they are of important currently. What is important currently, I can assure you, is to spin and spin so that those who stole the monies from the workers as well as from the investors can be able to swim this tide of corruption without any being found guilty or bearing the consequences of their own evil doings.
But I think the question here then is, what sort of recourse do they have, if any at all? Because all of this is happening to them, not as a result of their own actions, but the result of the actions of a greedy cabal. So what sort of recourse do workers have in this regard?
Look, in most cases, you go to USA, you go to also to the Steinhoff here in South Africa, and you ask yourself, really, what happened to the workers who become the victim through such kind of selfish interest, such kind of an evil act from those that are their employees? Look, in most cases, they become the casualty and they become the victim just like the investors. And so I think even if there was any really powerful, honest, conscious civil society, even trade union, I think we could hear anything from the trade union and those who claim to represent the interest of our society. But there is such a muteness, and then one starts to wonder, really, who is going to guard the guardians in this case?
And also other political parties, apart from the ANC, have also been tainted. The EFF, the link to Floyd Shivambu's brother there, Brian. And of course, I see Public Protector Thuli Madonsela saying they need to actually make sure that they, if they are to prove their integrity, go and investigate whether there was any link in terms of the monies received by Brian Shivambu to Floyd Shivambu. What's your take on that?
Look, Sakina, I think the South Africans, they have to understand that we live in a class society. In a class society, certain class members, there is this homogeneity that always bring them together. Floyd, Jacob Zuma, Musi, and the others, they belong in the same class. And they have the same interest, is to maintain their class status. And so they will do whatever it takes. And so even corruption is part of their mechanism to maintain their class status in our society. And so Jacob Zuma and Floyd and anyone who's the member of that particular class, especially in the parliament, the parliamentarians, they are not different. They are of the same caliber, and they serve the same interest. And so the victim in this case are those who elect these guys into the office. And at the same time, I think the South African society need to come with civil societies that are not of an elite interest, but the civil society that will really serve the interest of those cocos who slept at VBS Bank expecting that they are going to be paid. And so South Africa is a class society, and then in this class society, the condemned are the ones who are always the victims of the so-called the elite and those who are collaborating with the elite in our society. The VBS and Steinhoff scenario is the same, but the question, the only different is the skin pigmentation of the actors.
Now, final question on VBS. Is this perhaps a case study for all mutual banks? Could this spell the end for them? I think it is a case study that says, really, do we need a state bank? Because in one of the resolutions that was taken by the ruling party is the issue of the state bank. But if you look at Itala Bank in KwaZulu-Natal, it underwent the similar suffering, embarrassment, just like VBS. And so now, can we imagine, like SASA, like Post Bank, and now if we're going to have the state bank, what are we going to expect? It means that we have to embrace ourselves that such scandal is going to happen, and then after, what is it going to happen? No one knows. Well, that's a serious indictment. Xolani Dube, thanks for speaking to us this morning. Xolani Dube is, of course, with the Xubera Institute and talking to us about some of the latest developments in the VBS Bank scandal. And someone sent me a cartoon last night, a friend of mine, and it said, "I love you like corruption in South Africa. That means it has no end." And that is a serious indictment of where we are at as a nation. But it brings us up to news time.